The outgoing chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, has denied accusations that the ICC is only interested in going after Africans.
Bensouda says the accusations were part of a propaganda campaign by those wanting to discredit the court. She says looking at the landscape of where the ICC is and the cases that are being investigated and prosecuted, there are also investigations ongoing in Georgia, Afghanistan, Palestine, Colombia, Bangladesh and Venezuela. Bensouda became the prosecutor at the ICC in 2012. The Gambian lawyer is stepping down from the job after 9 years at the Hague-based court. She faced sanctions under the administration of former U.S. President Donald Trump, which opposed her decision to investigate war crimes allegations in Afghanistan, including by U.S. troops, and alleged atrocities in the Palestinian territories by Israeli troops, Palestinians, and other armed groups.
I, Karim Ahmed Khan, solemnly undertake that I will perform my duties and exercise my powers as prosecutor of the International Criminal Court honorably, faithfully, impartially, and conscientiously, and that I will respect the confidentiality of investigations and prosecutions.
Meanwhile, British lawyer Karim Khan has been sworn in to take over from Bensouda. Khan cut his teeth as a top international defense lawyer. He inherits probes open in hotspots like the Palestinian territories, Afghanistan, Myanmar, and the Philippines.
Medieval crimes are being committed by modern people. Rape, slavery, killings, torture, attacks against identity, all manner of persecution and destruction of cultural property take place as we speak. But through the other prism, through the other lens, this court and the whole Rome Statute architecture represents, in my view, a promise to the future that tomorrow need not be as bleak, as sorrowful as yesterday.
Already short of resources, the International Criminal Court is dealing with 14 full-blown investigations and 8 preliminary examinations. Khan will be closely watched as he takes over on investigations opposed by powerful non-member nations such as Israel, the United States, and Russia.
Opening preliminary examinations, requesting authorization or commencing investigations is a start. But as we say in English, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We have to perform in trial. We cannot invest so much. We cannot raise expectations so high and achieve so little so often in the courtroom. As an office, we need a greater realization of what is required by the burden of proof and the obligation to prove a case beyond reasonable doubt.
Khan was previously head of the United Nations Special Investigative Team looking into Islamic State crimes in Iraq.
Well, for more on the ICC, we're now joined by international law expert Dr. Innocent Badasu, who's in Accra, Ghana. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Always good to talk to you. It's always an interesting time, the transition from one ICC prosecutor to the next. I remember when Fatou Bensouda came in, there was talk about can she live up to Campo. I think it was the one before that. And I suppose the next guy, Karim Khan, is going to go through the same. But let's first start with Fatou Bensouda. What do we make of her term?
Peter, thank you so much. If you ask me what we make of her term, obviously the verdict's already out there. She's made some good gains. In recent times, she's come across as a very bold prosecutor of the ICC, taking the courage to go after some of the most powerful countries, as you have indicated. And so on that score, she ranks completely high, if you want to look at that. Again, we have also seen some disappointing cases that collapsed as a result of lack of effective investigation, and also lack of cooperation from state parties around some of these cases that were put before the court. And so overall, if you look at her legacy, she's living with mixed results. And it's important to look at the context within which she worked or she acted. When she came, there were doubts about her competence. There were doubts about her credentials in terms of how she would be able to deal with international crimes, such as crimes against humanity, genocide, war crimes. But we have seen her delivered in a way that at least we can say that she's done her best.
All right, so the ICC itself, before we talk about Karim, it's been accused of going after Africans. My understanding of how the ICC works is there are a couple of ways in which cases can get referred. Mostly, countries themselves refer cases to the ICC, and then the Security Council as well, and the ICC itself. When we look at all of this in its totality, do you think it's fair to say that the ICC goes after Africans?
I think that I entirely identify with Fatou Bensouda's response to that commentary. No doubt, we have seen a number of cases coming from the African continent. And so ordinarily, one would be tempted to conclude that, well, the ICC is targeting cases in Africa. But as you have rightly indicated, if you look at the legal processes and the mechanisms in which cases are handled, either at the level of preliminary investigation or examination of cases, authorization, when you look at these, the reality is that some African countries themselves offered for some of these cases to be dealt at the level of the ICC. And for some, they were given enormous opportunity to use national judicial mechanisms to be able to resolve some of these atrocities that were committed. For instance, if you take Nigeria, the case has been lying there over the last 10 years before reference has been made for the ICC to intervene in Nigeria. And so I agree entirely with Fatou Bensouda that sometimes the referrals are done by the member states themselves. Yes, where even you have a security referral in cases such as Libya, the point also here is that the Security Council has an override mandate to deal with international peace and security. So that overall supervision over issues of peace and security around the world enables them to be able to make referral. Again, there you have African states playing an active role in the arrangement of the UN Security Council. We know that, of course, South Africa has been a non-permanent Security Council member a number of times where certain cases have been referred and all of that. So in this case, it would be completely unacceptable to simply accept the narrow view that the court is targeting or the court is only looking at cases on the African continent. And so I identify with the comment of Fatou Bensouda.
All right, so let's now talk about Karim Khan. And he's got some big shoes to fill in Luis Moreno Ocampo and Fatou Bensouda. He's now the third ICC chief. A track record is there. Will he have his work cut out for him?
I think that slowly Khan is coming to terms with the realities. Of course, the verdict out there on his credentials, nobody doubts that. What is important here is that we can pick bits and pieces from the speech that he's made. In my perspective, he's kind of quite measured. He's indicated how Madame Fatou Bensouda has actually created a solid ground for him to be able to take off. And he's also providing hope to be able to revive hope around the court's processes. He's quite familiar with the courts and understands that there is a need for some reforms at the level of prosecution, which he has also hinted at. And so, yes, great credentials, but the reality is quite right here. He would have to face resource constraints of the courts. He has indicated that the best place to be able to build credibility for the courts is the courtroom. Now he will be faced with the challenge of evidence gathering and collection in some complicated settings where the court is currently, or the ICC prosecutor is currently investigating. So it would be extremely difficult. Khan, as I have indicated on other platforms, may not be the absolute solution to the weaknesses of the ICC. He comes with an incredible credential, and we believe that he will do his work faithfully as he has indicated, but obviously he cannot address all the problems of the ICC.
All right, Dr. Badasu, we're going to have to leave it there. Always great to get your thoughts and insights. Thank you for your time.